Hey everybody, and welcome back to another fun and exciting intermediate math class. In today's lesson, we'll be jumping into the lesson on slope. This is one of my favorite lessons. I think you're going to like it too, and it is on page 357. It is 9.3. What is slope? Well, let's talk about it. If you look down here, slope is the incline or the steepness of any line on the Cartesian plane. Think about it. Like you go to the playground and there's a slide. Well, that slide has a certain steepness, which is what allows it to be fun. It would not be fun if it was just flat, if it was straight. So it's got to have some kind of an incline to it. That is called slope. So it's got to have a slope so that you can actually slide down it. Maybe you like skiing or sledding. Whenever you're in the snow, things like that, it's fun when there's a hill, when there's some steepness, because you can sled down it, get going fast, whatever you want to do. So when we're talking about the Cartesian plane, the idea is that any line you put on the Cartesian plane, okay, is going to have some sort of steepness to it, some sort of an incline. We call that slope. All right, look down here at the next thing. It says slope is represented by the letter M. Why do we use the letter M? I have no idea. Why didn't they use the letter S? I don't know. I don't work here. I don't make up the rules. So it's just the way it is. You're going to have to memorize it. So right there, the letter M. Very important that you know that. In coordinate geometry, whenever you see the letter M, you need to think slope, steepness of the line. What's the incline of this line? The next thing down there, we talk about the formula for slope. So let me go ahead and write the formula for slope. There's several different ways to write it. So what we want is M equals, and then I'm going to write it a couple different ways. First of all, I'm going to write y over x. Okay, I'm going to tell you what this means in just a second. Y over x. The second way that we can write it is we can write it. I'm going to put an arrow, and the arrow is going to go up and down, and then this arrow is going to go left and right. Okay, so we could also write it like an up and down and a left and right. Okay, and then the third way that we can write it is with the words rise over run. Okay, so what does all this mean? So on the Cartesian plane, this y point, this y-axis, right, on the Cartesian plane, we've already talked about that, is the up and down line. So if I'm drawing a Cartesian plane, this line right here is the y line. Let's label that y. This line that goes left and right, is called the x line. Okay, the x-axis. Now, so we have the y going up and down, and we have the x going left and right. So what is this rise and run thing? Rise is when you get up, like you rise out of bed. Okay, you get up. So this is the idea of rise is going up or down, and the idea of running is when you go left and right. When you run, you're going left and right. You're not going up and down. That's jumping, right? So that's rising. Rising, up and down, running, left and right. So however you remember this right here, it's fine. But these are kind of the three little formulas that we have to help us remember how to do this. All right, now go ahead and look on the next page, 358. On page 358, what we want to talk about here on 358 is positive and negative slope. There's really two different ways that a line can go. There's actually four, but let's talk about two right now. So a line can go this way, or a line could go this way. These are the two different kind of directions your line could be pointed. Now within that, we know that the line could be tilted or angled, or its incline could be different. But those are two different directions that it can point. This direction over here is the positive direction, okay? And then this direction over here is the negative direction. Now, when it's positive, your fraction is going to either be, so it'll be plus on the y and plus on the x, or it could be minus on the y and minus on the x. Okay? So remember, in algebra, two negatives make a positive, right? So minus minus is going to be positive. So these are your positive slope over here. Now, on this side, we can have one is positive and one is negative. So you can have a plus y over minus x, or minus y over positive x. Okay, so these are your negative slopes. Okay, so when you get your fraction, if you have minus minus, that is actually a positive slope. When you get your slope and you have two positive signs, also positive slope. When you find your slope and you have a positive y and a negative x, or a negative y and a positive x, then your slope is going to be negative. Very important to kind of understand that concept. All right, let's do one of these slope problems. Let's go down here and look at this. Let me pull up my graph paper, and we'll blow that up just a little bit. And in the book, it has the points given. It says the points are -2, 1, and -1, 5. So what does that mean? Remember that these are always written in XY. So that's going to be your X, and that's going to be your Y. Okay? So the first one is your X, the second one is your Y. So let's do this first one. We'll do it in this yellow color, -2, 1. We're just going to put this point over here. So -2, we always start at the middle, right? Okay, that's our origin. So we're going 1, 2 on the X, and then we're going 1 up. So right there is where we want to be. So we'll put our point right here. And then let's do this one. We'll do this one in green so you can see it. And we're going to go -1, 5. So -1 again. And then we're going up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so right there we go. And now what we want to do is we want to figure out the slope of our line. Well, let's first of all put a line in there. All right, so there we go. We got our line in there. Now what we want to do is we want to figure out, okay, what is the slope of this point? Okay, well, what does that mean? What does slope mean? Well, it means rise over run, y over x. So here's what we do. We count the number of spots in between these 2 points. So we're first of all going to count the y. Now notice, and it doesn't matter if you start at this point or at this point. What we'll do is we'll start at the first point we mark. So we'll start at this yellow point. It doesn't matter which one you start at, you'll get the same answer. But we have to pick one. So we're going to pick the bottom one because that's the first point they gave us. Okay? So y is how far up do we go to get to that next point. So let's check it out. We go up 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So our y is going to equal 4 over our x is going to equal, how many spots did we go over? 1 spot. 4 over 1 is our slope. Okay? Now, notice that we went up and right. Up is positive. Remember, this is positive. This is positive. Negative is down. Negative is left. Okay? So we went up positive and right positive. So this is a positive and this is a positive. So we have a positive slope, 4 over 1. So we would write m equals 4 over 1. Now, you could also write m equals 4 because the fraction 4 over 1 solves or reduces to just 4. So you could also have or m equals 4. Both of those would be correct answers. Now let me show you something real quick. I told you that it didn't matter if we started from the top one or the bottom one. So let's go ahead and now do it kind of going the other direction. We're going to start at this top one, and we're going to go down to the bottom one. So remember, our slope is this, 4 over 1, or 4. So let's look at this. Now we're going to go on the y, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So we went down, so that equals -4. You're saying, look, it's already wrong. Okay, we had +4 last time. All right, hang on a second. And now we're going to go left 1. So left 1 is also negative. So we're going to go left 1, so that's -1. Notice that I have a negative here. What did I say earlier on negative? That becomes a positive. So our slope would be 4 over 1 still, or our slope is 4. All right, let's do one more of these. We have the points 4, -2, 4, -2, and then we'll do the other one in this pink color, and it is 1, -1. Okay? Don't forget that we're dealing with x, y always when we're dealing with coordinate numbers. So here's what we want to do. Let's put this yellow one on first, 4, -2. So we always start here in the middle. We always go 4 spots to the positive or to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going down 2 because this is -2 on the y. 1, 2. So there's our spot right there. Put our mark. Then we'll come up here on this pink one and we're going to go 1, -1. So we're going 1 to the right and then 1 down. So our spot's going to be right here. All right, so now we need to basically put our line in there. All right, so we got our line, and now what we want to do is we want to find out what is our slope. So our m equals what? In this case, our m equals, let's go ahead and count over. We'll start at the yellow. I showed you on the last time, it doesn't matter which way that you go, so we'll start on yellow. So we'll start here, and we'll go up 1, okay? So that's our y. Our y is up 1, so that's going to be a +1, because up is positive, right? And then we're going to go, from there, we're going to go left 3. 1, 2, 3. So left is 3. Notice left is negative, so when we're going to the left, it's negative. So -3. Now, you can leave your slope like this, 1 over -3, that's fine. But probably a better way to write that would be m equals -1 over 3. And make like the whole fraction negative, okay? So not making like one or the other, because remember, we could go the other way and we would get a -1. You're like, what? Watch this. If we start at this pink one and we go down 1, then we have a -1 over, and then we're going to go right 3. -1 over 3. So it's the same slope. We just bring this negative sign out to the front. Okay? So it doesn't matter if your numerator is negative or if your denominator is negative. There's one other type of slope that I'd like to talk about, and that is zero slope. So if you have a line that's just flat, then basically you don't do any rise. So when you don't do any rise, so like if we have our 2 points right here, if you notice, we only have run. Okay, so this would be like 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be for the x, and then the y would be 0. We don't rise at all. So when you divide this out, what does this become? This fraction is 0. So this is called zero slope. And the last thing that I want to show you is if they say you have a point at 2, 2, and you have a slope of 2, go ahead and graph this. So what you would do is you would first of all graph your point at 2, 2. So we'd come over here 1, 2, and then up 1, 2. So we'd put our point right here. Now we don't have a second point, so we need to use our slope. Notice that it's not a fraction, but we need to write it as a fraction, remember, because it's y over x. All we have is 2. When it's just a 2, that means that it's 2 over 1. So our y equals 2 and our x equals 1. So here's what we want to do. We want to come to this point that we have, and we want to go up 2. Why? Because it says our y is 2. So 1, 2, and then our x is 1, so we're going to go 1 over, so our point is going to be right there. And this is going to be our line. Okay? So that's the way you do it when you have a point and a slope. You put the point on there, and then you count the slope out. If it's negative, make sure to go down. If it's positive, make sure to go up. On the x, if it's negative, go left, and if it's positive, go right. All right, well, that's all I have for you in this lesson. Hopefully you learned something there. I like slope because it's pretty simple, right? You just keep that fraction right in your mind, and then you just count points. There's not a lot of math there, but it does take some time to kind of figure it out. What is this thing doing? It's like a little puzzle. Once you figure it out, it's kind of cool. You get the slope of the line, and you're able to figure out where the other point goes and what it's doing there. So make sure that you practice this. Do those practice problems there. Do some of that homework there, and just keep working on this and keep getting better at figuring out the slope of a line. All right, that's all I've got for you in this lesson. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.